Can I say something before we get into this? Because I know we have a lot of stuff to get into. I love how interesting this headset is because it's flawed.
Yeah.
I think that for the last year especially, if you look at YouTube comments about new tech that's come out, new smartphones especially, oh my God, this is so boring. This is just a spec bump. There's no risk. This isn't even interesting. Why is this even a video? Oh, the flat line has occurred, like the plateau. We've reached peak smartphone. All of that comment, we've seen all of that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Especially from Apple and phones. No new iPads for a year, like tablet. Like all this stuff is so stagnant. This is interesting.
Yeah.
This has lots of really high heights. It has lots of places where it falls short. It has trade-offs, pros and cons, flaws that come with how cool it is. It is so much more interesting than the boring, stuff we expect every year.
And
so
I think
that's why I like it.
Part of that reason is because Apple is great at designing things. They're great at making sure things are really good. So when we say things are un-Apple-like, it's because it doesn't work.
It's also
basically flawlessly, and this has a lot of un-Apple-like things.
Yeah, and they also exist in a lot of very mature categories.
Yeah.
So like we know what a laptop is. So when we get a new laptop year after year after year, it's like, yeah, we're refining at this point. This is a first-gen product, and it has all of the telltale signs of a first-gen product. The battery life sucks. It's heavy. It's expensive. There's not that many apps. But the promise of the future is also super interesting.
I do have to say, like, I had dinner with Viren from The Verge last night, who's like their video director there. And we were talking a lot about Vision Pro because we both used it pretty extensively. And we were both saying, like, yeah, like phones have gotten to the point where they're just so freaking boring to make videos about and stuff. But 10 years ago, I could not have imagined that something like this would exist in real life. Like when you use it for the first time, it's pretty amazing. And then later you're just like, this is a sci-fi technology.
Yeah.
Like you can look at the screen recordings of what it looks like to be wearing the Vision Pro and just see things floating around you and just like casting shadows and sitting and like, you could watch a Star Trek episode and someone would probably put on a headset and start manipulating stuff in space. That's literally what that is.
Yeah.
And because the technology has kind of progressed progressively over the last 10 years, it's not as shocking because it didn't just come out of nowhere. A lot of the elements of the Vision Pro are still so far ahead of other headsets that it does still feel really advanced. But 10 years ago, anything like this would be magic.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why it feels so flawed in some aspects is because it is so far ahead in a lot of things that came out. But then the way Apple marketed it, some of those things they marketed are far behind.
It's also just flawed because no one knows what to do with it.
Well, yeah, that is
like it's pointless right now.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
You're at a different angle than me. You can see both of his eyes.
I can see both of his eyes.
I cannot.
Interesting.
I can see.
Oh, now I can only see one eye.
Now I can. Can you go back to how you were looking at both of us? I want to take a picture. We'll put it in the video.
Okay, I'll
version.
take a picture too.
Yeah. I can see David, Marques's eye, and then the Waveform logo. That's
Okay, so
I can see both of his eyes.
Yeah, for audio listeners, there's a very distinct feature of this headset that no other VR headset has. And that's a screen facing the outside.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's not for me at all. It's literally for the people around me. And the like sort of highlighted feature you've seen in the ads is called eyesight. And it's supposed to put your eyes on the outside of the headset. It's got this lenticular film over it, so it's it's got this depth effect. It's supposed to sink it into the headset. It gives you this feeling of being able to connect with the outside world, maybe even make eye contact. And you can tell when I am in pass-through mode because you can see my eyes. And then when I go to the moon real quick, you have this blue-purple film that goes over the front of it that makes you know that, okay, now I'm in the headset. At least logically, that's what's supposed to be happening. I don't know that it works as well as people were hoping. It's not nearly as bright as the videos.
And low resolution.
And also this dome, this glass dome on my face is so reflective that literally every light source is just like beams of lights all over my face.
They need to use the new Galaxy S24 glass.
They need it to be anti-glare in some way. And we were talking about like, why didn't they make it matte glass or something like that? And I think that would mess with the outward facing sensors. I don't think you can do that.
I think we came to the conclusion that it would either potentially mess with the sensors or the sensors would have to be a different glass, therefore being way more obvious and look bad.
Yeah, I think ironically something I'm excited for in version 2 is just the resolution and brightness of eyesight being better.
Yeah,
On the outside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the most excited. Marques had it on. I was like, "Do you have eyesight set up?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh." I wanted to see it being creepy, and then he's like, "You can't see it." I was like, "No." And then he like looked me straight in the eyes. I was like, "There it is."
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, for our thumbnail of our second Vision Pro video that we put out on the main channel, we literally have a comparison of the ad versus what it actually looks like. The ad makes it look so much higher resolution and so much brighter, and they definitely were just tracking that.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
had it in a perfectly reflectionless room.
yeah, and but also. So like I took a picture of it and threw it on Twitter, and a lot of people are like, well, if you're on a plane and the flight attendant comes by, it's darker, right? And like we turn the lights on,
Sometimes.
off. Yes, sometimes.
Flying
But
during
like
the day.
even when it's dark, as it's not pitch black, there's a reflection somewhere and it's picking the reflection up. It is still going to distract or like take over space on that. And even still, it's very dim and very low resolution.
I know that like the reflections don't bother me that much. I see them and I notice them, but I can mostly pay attention to the eyes. It's just the fact that that lenticular film like makes the resolution pretty low.
Really low.
And then also the brightness just needs to be a lot better.
The viewing angle is really bad. Like I'm saying, right now I'm seeing one of Marques's eyes. Right. And like a lot, unless you're kind of in a perfect like 5-degree angle where you can see both of them.
It's almost like, you know, those protective business screen protectors that people put on their
It feels like that.
Privacy shield?
Privacy shields.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a hot take for this.
Okay.
Even if eyesight was perfect, it's still a dumb idea.
Well, it's funny though.
No, dude, I kind of like it.
Just take it off.
Even though it's
Okay.
bad.
If you're looking at someone, just take it off.
No.
100%.
Well, okay.
Well, riddle me this. Do you think transparency mode in headphones is a dumb idea?
Yes. Just take it off.
Dude.
Okay.
Okay.
We might disagree on that one.
I like Adam's boomer route. Me personally, as a fellow boomer, I would take my headphones out with transparency mode. I would take this off. But I do understand that we've gotten to the point where we're okay with technology and that isn't considered rude. So this maybe in 10 years, I see that being okay.
I still feel
if it were
rude,
working.
But I feel like I don't feel like Marques is being rude by looking at us through this.
Well, we also told him to put it on. No,
I think it
I
is
don't know.
rude,
I think it's
and
less
it's
of-
also just weird.
You think someone should take the headset off to
Absolutely.
talk to you?
Yes. Just take
I
it
don't.
off.
I feel like it's the same thing.
I've had to slowly get used to like when I have noise canceling headphones on, leaving them on but switching to transparency mode and then talking to the person, and then once they leave, how fast do I turn the music back on?
Yeah.
You know?
That's why the Sony thing where you can just touch it and then talk to them and then let go is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this still has the first gen drawback of still being very notable and pretty big and awkward. So imagine, I don't know, first gen. It's hard to make like a comparison because there's nothing quite like it. But like the first gen iPhone when it came out was a pretty expensive, pretty weak, technically speaking, device that just had some revolutionary, magical feeling controls. You know?
Yeah.
I
So
feel
it
like
feels like that.
this argument's come up a lot, not just on this, but also in other things we've talked about. AI pin rabbit R1, where it's like when the iPhone first came out, everyone thought it was like doesn't make sense. Or when the iPad first came out, the reactions were this. It's like they're all really reasonable reactions, and sure, this could go a long way, but like that we shouldn't just disregard all of the things that feel like they don't make sense. Because maybe in the future this will be awesome.
Yeah, I saw some of those and I totally agree. I think you have to draw more parallels than just when it first came out, people didn't like it. I think there are certain things about it that people don't like.
Yeah.
And certain things about it that are the reason why it ended up overcoming that stuff.
Right.
So, like, if you just go to first gen iPhone, if you want to use that example, yeah, it was super expensive. That's an obvious reason why a lot of people didn't get it. It was also carrier exclusive. But also, there were no apps. You couldn't change your wallpaper. There were lots of restrictions. It didn't have Flash in the browser. Yeah, lots of restrictions. But when people used it, they really felt very intuitive with the controls, with the direct manipulating the thing on the screen. And that was new and really, really fun and intuitive to use. And so people wanted that idea to continue and blossom despite all of its downfalls. And now you draw the parallels to this. Okay, I think what Apple is probably trying to feel like is, all right, revolutionary input device. How do we do this again? The eye thing where you look directly at the item you're controlling is very impressive. It feels very very close to like psychic, like magic.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it is kind of annoying.
Yeah, fatiguing.
It is kind of annoying.
Fatiguing for sure.
I did actually get to put it on and try it briefly. So now I know what you guys are talking about. I don't know if we want to hop into that right away, but yeah, the clicking things with your hand was really cool. And I mean, like, pretty much by your side.
It's cool
Felt
until
like it
you're
worked.
kind of annoyed by it. When you have when you're using an interface where you have to do it a lot, like if you're trying to use that for the keyboard and do that,
Yeah.
it kind of hurts your eyes because our eyes are not used to doing this. They're used to like snapping and staying there and then snapping back.
And
But
it's
now,
not,
like it kind of gives me a headache,
Yeah.
you know?
and also on top of that, until you feel comfortable, it's not just like you're looking at ANDREW. You're looking at A up to that register, N up to that register, D up to that. Like you're adding another thing every time. And you have to understand now that if you look back at the screen, you're not looking at the keyboard. So it's essentially an extra input every
There is a
single time.
really weird thing that your brain does when you're trying to use this headset where your body and your brain says, I need to move my head in order to change what I'm selected on. But you really just have to move your eyes. So it's almost like the like patting your head and rubbing your belly thing. Like you only need to do one of them. But your body is just like, I need to be looking around.
But it is still an extra input because it's following your eyes. So if you think about it, you don't just go DAVID, you go D up, V up.
yeah, no.
So it's
No,
like,
yeah,
it's way more
simultaneous input, but it's still more that you have to process. You have to rub your belly and pat your head at the same time. Like it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's as soon as you start to try to do more than one task at once, that's when it becomes a little bit of an extra step to have to look at exactly what you're doing. Like if you're just using a Mac and you have a window open and your input device is your keyboard, you're not staring at your keyboard as you input. You're looking at something that you're not controlling. That's the difference. You're looking at something that you're not controlling. Where in this, if I have a window open and a keyboard, I can stare at the keyboard the entire time as I type, but the second I look up to check it, none of the typing works. I'm now just tapping things that I wasn't intending to tap. I have to look back down at the keyboard. And there's all kinds of little moments like that. Like if I have more than one window open, when I have like my Mac connected and I have a Vision Pro app over here.
Yeah.
What's awesome is my keyboard and trackpad still work. So if I have a Messages app open over here and the Mac here, I will look over at the Messages app. The keyboard and trackpad still work.
Yeah.
I'll reply to a message in the Vision Pro app with the Mac keyboard.
Yeah.
But then I look back as I'm finishing typing the message and it's now
switches
typing back in
context.
Google Docs.
Oh.
do we know if we confirmed? So that's when you're connected to your Mac. Have we confirmed you can connect a Bluetooth keyboard or something straight to it?
Yeah, you can.
You can. Okay. Is there enough computing power to run multiple things where like you see that as a valid option, or does it make more sense to be connected to a Mac?
I would use a.
Oh, you're saying would you go on the go and compute without even the Mac at all?
Yep.
That's one of the
yes,
questions
an
I pulled
M2
from
chip.
YouTube, so
Oh,
I'll just
is it
scratch
really?
that off.
I mean, it's
No,
an
that's a good
M2.
question.
I
It's
think
an M2 chip with the Safari, and
in my eyes, that makes the difference between
It's a netbook.
that's right.
Is that like they're selling this as like this new computing input device, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the difference between is I don't have enough bandwidth to just throw a Bluetooth keyboard on this, then to me that this is just a new monitor, not a new computing system.
Sure.
Sort of. Obviously, there's a lot more nuances there.
Yeah. I think so. The apps that are built in, you can get real computing done. It's not quite as powerful as if you know your way around a Mac or a computer. So if I'm just doing like Google Docs writing and I have a couple tabs open, some browser windows and researching and writing a script or something like that, yeah, I could do this without a Mac at all. But the second you have like 4 different apps open at the same time, and maybe one of them is only available on the Mac, or maybe you wanted Spotify in the background, but now you have to have that as a browser tab, like it starts to get annoying.
Do you think he can hear us?
I think he's in the zone.
Can he hear us? Marques. Marques.
Does someone want to tell him?
No, I think we should just leave him here.
Just, yeah. Subscribe quietly so no one interrupts him in the Vision Pro.
Most people who see what I do would call me crazy.
Did you hear that?